He said he's running late, maybe 20 minutes more.
Okay, that's fine. We can do that.
Neeral is on, I mean, he's out.
Oh,
so
Neeral
he
is
can
planning to
join
join us
anytime.
online? Is that what the plan is? Oh, awesome.
I don't know when he sleeps. He slept at like 1 o'clock our time.
My goodness.
He's up already.
Okay.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
How are you? Good.
Hare Krishna.
Om Ajnanatimandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam yena bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padikamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamsya Shri Rupam Sagratam Sahagara Raghunatamritam Tam Sajivam Sadvetam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagara Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitam Sra He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapte Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishubhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Vanchikalpatarubhyasya Kripasindhubhya evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Gopivande Hari Hari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna
Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
You know, to follow the speed of the musical instrument, right? And try to sing along that, right? Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. So this is like going slow, right? And then I'll play it fast and then not. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. So when we have kirtan, then we have musical instrument inside the kirtan, and that musical instrument is the one where you will tune your singing to that musical instrument. That way you have unison, right? Otherwise, how will you know whether you could sing fast or whether you could sing slow? Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
You can also clap, right? And clap enthusiastically. Loud. 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1. Okay, let's have a competition. You try to drown my voice. You're clapping. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
So why do you think we clap during the kirtan?
So my sleep goes away.
What goes away?
Sleep.
Sleep goes away? Okay. So if somebody is sleeping, then we clap louder. 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1. Actually, in India, in the Indian villages, like when you're working in the fields, and you're plowing the fields with your hands and you're doing all kinds of things, cutting, then they also get pain in their hands, just like we get. Right, when you work on the computer.
You said something?
So what they used to do in the evening, everybody would gather underneath a tree and they would have kirtan and they would be clapping loudly. So they would not suffer from all kinds of diseases that we suffer these days from crouching on the computer. So kirtan, apart from making your neighbors awake or driving away your sleep, yeah, there is this medicinal benefit also from kirtan. But first and foremost, the reason why we clap during the kirtan is that this body is considered like a tree, and on this tree the birds of sin are sitting on this tree. So when you go to a tree and birds are sitting, if you clap, what is going to happen to the birds?
Fly away.
The birds will fly away, right? So similarly, the sins also fly away like that, right?
I
So we
wish I
just
had a karta.
you play karta?
Well, I do know a little bit.
Very good.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Sorry I'm so late.
Please come.
I found the curtains moving.
Oh, I
Hare
left the
Krishna,
parking
Hare
spot for
Krishna.
you. You have parking over there.
Do you
Yeah,
have
I am.
1, 2,
It's
for any?
bigger for
Okay.
they want to
No, I
So I don't know where
always
your
think.
spot is.
Oh, I see.
Maybe today you can give a.
I thought
Today you
Viral
can give
must
a
have
tour.
showed you.
Yeah. Today you can give a tour. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, I will show you today.
Okay.
Next time
Okay.
onwards, you don't have to find
Easy.
it.
Yeah.
Could I
And then
have
kartas are also there to maintain the rhythm as well as they engage your senses, because when the moment you sit down and talk about Krishna, then the senses want to go in all other directions. So we try to engage, all parts of the body while we are doing the
It
kirtan.
is also like cheering for Krishna.
It's cheering for Krishna,
I
absolutely.
want karta.
You want kartal? Okay. Yeah. So after the classes.
And also like when we clap, it changes our destiny.
There you go.
Amazing.
The lines, yes. Of course, if you're sitting in a kirtan and if you're clapping, then the destiny is changed, because nothing else changes your destiny. Like, for example, when people go, if, for example, people go to a fortune teller or forecast, Jyotish, right?
Astronomer.
Astronomer. And astrologer, not astronomer. So they go there and they will say, okay, so you're going to suffer from this. And then so we go and ask him like, okay, so tell us what is the remedy for this. So he will tell you, okay, now you go there and you do this yajna or you give dan to such and such a person, or you go and do this thing. And so it goes away, and we think like that's fine, that's the cure, but that's not the cure. What these activities do is that they only postpone it to a later date. So whatever your karma you are supposed destined to get, you will get it. It's just that you're rescheduling it to a different date, and that different date can happen in this lifetime, or it can happen in the next lifetime, like that. So so that's one thing to keep in mind. That these kind of activities are not going to change your fortune. As you said, but if you are sitting, but you're right, but if you're sitting in a kirtan, what you're doing is you're performing devotional service. You're cheering for Krishna, and so devotional service is actually the only thing that can karmani nirdhati kin puja bhakta bhajan. Brahma Samhita says that
Please, could I have a karta?
you can have right from asta indra gopam athavendra ahosa karma, So right from that small insect known as Indragopa all the way up to Indra, who is the king of the heavenly planets, everybody is bound by the karma. But it's only bhakti. What bhakti will do? It will burn your karmas to ashes.
Could I have a karta? No, my hand.
But you're not allowed to play because it's not kirtan time. Kirtan you can do, okay?
After the class. After the class.
After the class, there will be another kirtan time.
What's a class?
You will have prasadam prayers.
And you can do Narsimha
You
prayers
will also
too.
do Narsingham prayers. Do you know Narsingham prayers?
Yeah, he does.
Does he sing Narsingham prayers?
He knows.
He knows?
Yeah, he can sing. You can do it, right?
Sing it?
Yes.
He'll try.
You
Okay.
will lead the class
Oh,
with
yeah.
that.
You try to sing it today, okay? So you will lead and you will play the kirtan, but at the end of the class, right? So
Okay.
during the class,
Yeah,
we will
okay.
all concentrate
Very good
on
boy.
Krishna, right?
Okay.
Okay.
And listen
So we will
first.
start the class now that we have full Quran, and we will start with instructions, and yeah, please.
Hare Krishna, my name is Khyati and I'm from Vilgare. Your turn.
We're on. My name is Vanamali Das, and I live here in San Mateo County, Belmont, California.
My name is Veenu. I'm from South San Francisco. Yes.
Okay.
I'm Shraddha devi Dasi and I'm from Foster City.
So welcome. I just wanted to especially give a welcome to Shraddha devi Dasi because she recently moved to Foster and she's very much interested in Bhakti Vrksa, and one day we will have it at her place. She's my neighbor in Foster.
Hare Krishna, my name is Suman Kukreti. I'm from San Mateo.
Hare Krishna. I am Mayank. I am presently situated in San Mateo.
And behind the cameras and not ever going to come in front of it is my husband Rakesh Prabhu. And we have got devotees who have joined us online, many of them. But I just wanted to make a special mention of one devotee, and the reason for that is that is Niral Shah Prabhu, Kyatimathi's husband, who is in India right now, and but he was missing this, so he's joining us from there. So,
Hi, Niral.
and welcome to all the
Hare
all
Bol.
the
Hare Bol.
devotees online. Thank you so much for joining us.
What about me?
Yes.
Oh yeah, we
That's out there.
No, he wants to
Camera,
introduce
lights, action.
tell your name.
Yeah,
Please tell your
introduce
name,
yourself.
please tell your age, and please tell the
Yeah.
city from where you are coming.
Tell about you.
Yeah.
Who
Oh, that's a bit hard.
It's okay. Tell about your name.
and he likes Kartal.
No,
Mr. Kartal.
Introduce quickly.
See, the nice T-shirt also.
Raj, and
How many
I
years
am
old?
8, and I like to play karta.
Who is this
Good,
I?
good,
What is
good.
the I? What is the I?
Okay.
Who is I? I has a name?
What's your name?
Suraj.
Suraj.
All
Okay,
right,
good.
very good.
Son, wow.
Okay.
You have a powerful
Beautiful.
name.
Chakshu Eka Savita Sakala Grahana. Surya is like the eye of Krishna. The sun. Okay.
Krishna told Bhagavad Gita first time to some god.
To sun god. Yeah. All right. Very good. So today we will hopefully have some Bhagavad Gita, Surya, for you as well. And so here's the deal. The sooner we finish the class, the sooner you get to play the kartals. Yeah. All right. So okay. So we will do the usual thing that we do. We will each take turns and maybe reading a paragraph each. But I also noticed that one of the paragraphs is really big, so maybe we'll cut it to half, right? Like that. Narayan Prabhu, can we start with you?
Sure, ma'am. From the Nectar of Instruction 4, by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada. Dadati pratigrahanati guhyam akhyati prijhati gunakte bhojayate jaiva sadvidham priti lakshanam. Offering gifts in charity, accepting charitable gifts, revealing one's mind in confidence, inquiring confidentially, accepting prasada and offering prasada are the 6 symptoms of love shared by one devotee and another. Go ahead. Next.
In this verse, purport. In this verse, Srila Rupa Goswami explains how to perform devotional activities in the association of other devotees. There are 6 kinds of activities. 1. Giving charity to the devotees. 2. Accepting from the devotees whatever they may offer in return. 3. Opening one's mind to the devotees. 4. Inquiring from them about the confidential service of the Lord. 5. Honoring prasada or spiritual food given by the devotees. And 6. Feeding the devotees with prasada. An experienced devotee explains and an inexperienced devotee learns from him. This is Guhyam Akhyati Prachati. When a devotee distributes prasada, remnants of food offered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in order to maintain our spirit of devotional service, we must accept this prasad as the Lord's grace received through the pure devotees. We should also invite pure devotees to our home, offer them prasad, and be prepared to please them in all respects. This is called Bhunte Bhojyate Chaiva.
Even in ordinary social activities, these 6 types of dealings between 2 loving friends are absolutely necessary. For instance, when our businessman wishes to contact other businessmen, he arranges a feast in a hotel and over the feast openly expresses what he wishes to do. He then inquires from his business friend how he should act, and sometimes presents are exchanged. Thus, whenever there is a dealing of priti or love in intimate dealings, these 6 activities are executed. In the previous verse, Srila Rupa Goswami advised that one should renounce worldly association and keep company with the devotees. Sangha, Tyagat, Sato, Vrta. The International Society for Krishna Consciousness has been established to facilitate these 6 kinds of loving exchanges between devotees. This society was started single-handedly, but because people are coming forward and dealing with the give and take policy, the society is now expanding all over the world. We are glad that people are donating very liberally to the development of the society's activities, and people are also eagerly accepting whatever humble contribution we are giving them in the shape of books and magazines dealing strictly with the subject matter of Krishna consciousness.
But
Okay, we sometimes hold Hare Krishna festivals and invite life members and friends to participate in the feasting by accepting prasad. Although most of our members come from the higher rungs of society, they nonetheless come and take whatever little prasad we are able to offer them. Sometimes the members and supporters inquire very confidentially about the methods of performing devotional service, and we try to explain this. In this way, appreciating our Krishna consciousness, in this way, our society is successfully spreading all over the world, and the intelligentsia of all countries is gradually appreciating our Krishna conscious activities. The life of the Krishna conscious society is nourished by these 6 types of loving exchange among the members. Therefore, people must be given the chance to associate with the devotees of ISKCON, because simply by reciprocating in the 6 ways mentioned above, an ordinary man can fully revive his dormant Krishna consciousness. In Bhagavad Gita 2.62, it is stated, Sangat Sanjayate Kama. One's desires and ambitions develop according to the company one keeps. It is often said that a man is known by his company, and if an ordinary man associates with devotees, he will certainly develop his dormant Krishna consciousness. The understanding of Krishna consciousness is innate in every living entity, and it is already developed to some extent when the living entity takes a human body. It is said in Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya 22.107, Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Sadhya Kabunaya Shravanadi Shuddha Sitte Karaye Udaya.
Pure love for Krishna is eternally established in the hearts of living entities. It is not something to be gained from another source. When the heart is purified by hearing and chanting, the living entity naturally awakens. Since Krishna consciousness is inherent in every living entity, everyone should be given a chance to hear about Krishna. Simply by hearing and chanting, Shravanam Kirtanam, one's heart is directly purified and one's original Krishna consciousness is immediately awakened. Not only is the chanter of the Maha Mantra purified, but the heart of anyone who happens to hear the transcendental vibration of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare is also cleansed. Even the souls embodied in lower animals, insects, trees, and other species of life also become purified and prepared to become fully Krishna conscious simply by hearing the transcendental vibration. This was explained by Thakura Haridas when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu inquired from him how living entities lower than human beings can be delivered from material bondage. Haridas Thakur said that the chanting of the holy names is so powerful that even if one chants in the remotest parts of the jungle, the trees and animals will advance in Krishna consciousness simply by hearing the vibration. This was actually proved by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself when he passed through the forest of Jharkhand. At that time, the tigers, snakes, deer, and all other animals abandoned their natural animosity and began chanting and dancing in Sankirtana. Of course, we cannot imitate the activities of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but we should follow in his footsteps. We are not powerful enough to enchant the lower animals such as tigers, snakes, cats, and dogs, or entice them to dance. But by chanting the holy names of the Lord, we can actually convert many people throughout the world to Krishna consciousness. Contributing or distributing the holy name of the Lord is a sublime example of contributing or giving charity, the Dadati principle. By the same token, one must also follow the Pratigranati principle and be willing and ready to receive the transcendental gift. One should inquire about the Krishna consciousness moment and open his mind in order to understand the situation of this material world. Thus, the Guhyam Akhyati Puchhati principles can be served.
Can you read the Namamrita?
Shri Namamrita. Narad Muni mentioned this sadhana bhakti in the Srimad Bhagavatam, 6th canto, 1st chapter, verse 32. He says there to the king Yudhishthir, my dear king, one has to fix his mind on Krishna by any means. That is called Krishna consciousness. It is the duty of the Acharya, the spiritual master, to find the ways and means for his disciples to fix his mind on Krishna. That is the beginning of sadhana bhakti. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given us the authorized program for this purpose, centered around the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. The chanting has so much power that it immediately attaches one to Krishna. That is the beginning of sadhana bhakti. Somehow or other, one has to fix his mind on Krishna. The great saint Amrish Maharaj, although responsible king, fixed his mind on Krishna, and similarly anyone who tries to fix his mind on Krishna this way will very rapidly make progress in successfully receiving his original Krishna consciousness and nectar of devotion.
Okay, good. Can you also tell us the assignment that we have? Sharing this essence. Can you also read that?
Sharing the essence assignment. Read the chapter from Srila Prabhupada books and share something that you liked with a friend of yours who does not know anything about Krishna consciousness. Share your experience with the group. There are so many unwanted literatures full of materialistic ideas of sense gratification. The people in general want to read, that is the natural instinct, but because their minds are polluted, they want such literature. Under the circumstances, transcendental literature like Srimad Bhagavatam will not only diminish the activities of the corrupt mind of the people in general, but also it supplies the food for their hankering after reading some interesting literature. In the beginning, they may not like it because one suffering from jaundice is reluctant to take sugar candy. But we should know that sugar candy is the only remedy for jaundice. Similarly, let there be a systematic propaganda for popularizing reading of the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, which acts like a sugar candy for the jaundice-like conditions of sense gratification. When a man have a taste for this literature, the other literature which are catering poison to society will then automatically cease.
Good, thank you. So let's go back to the main topic for today. We are talking about the 6 kinds of loving exchanges among the devotees. So we had I think we had some sort of a break, right? A non-break.
Yes.
Since the last time that we talked about. So we were talking about 4 kinds of devotees who go to Krishna and 4 kinds of devotees who don't go to Krishna. And now we are on to 6. So we will be talking about 6 kinds of loving exchanges among the devotees of the Lord. Right? Then we'll also talk about 6 kinds of this and 6 kinds of that. There's a Bhagavad Gita behind you, right?
And there are more.
There are
So
more.
we
Can you quickly? Yeah, can you quickly?
Yeah, there are on the white table.
Can you just quickly pass those around, and I want you to open to page number 18, chapter 18.
There are 6 or 7.
Yeah. Page 18, and I want you to go to verse number 74.
So where do you come?
74. 18 chapter 74.
Yeah, just
18 chapter and
74, verse number 74. Right.
Six-
And I just
18
said,
goes
yeah,
74.
yeah. And I
Page
want
number
to
666.
666, perfect, yeah. So we will just read all these, we'll read 4 or 5 verses, 74, 75, 76 and 77. So we'll read those 4 verses, just the translation, okay, together. So when we read things together, we have to remember that there are things like comma and a full stop. And if you speed, then we will issue a ticket. Okay. So alright, let's go together.
Sanjaya said,
Thus I have heard the conversation of 2 great souls, Krishna and Arjuna.
And so wonderful is that message that my hair is standing on end. By the mercy of Vyasa, I have heard these most confidential talks directly from the master of all mysticism,
Krishna,
who was speaking personally to Arjuna.
O
King, as I repeatedly recall this wondrous and holy dialogue between Krishna and Arjuna, I take pleasure, being thrilled at every moment.
Okay, we'll stop. Okay, no, one more, yeah.
O King, as I remember the wonderful form of Lord Krishna, I am struck with wonder more and more, and I rejoice again and again.
Right? So, now we read about the 6 kinds of loving exchanges. Would like to give a try at what those 6 kinds of loving exchanges are? Do you remember? Anybody wants to guess? You want to go for it? Sudhir?
Yeah.
Give us 2.
Me
Yes,
too?
2. Yeah.
Okay. Giving charity to devotees, accepting from devotees whatever they may offer in return.
In return. Okay. So giving things to devotees, taking things from them. Alright. Any others?
Giving prasad.
Prasadam. Okay, that's a popular one, right? So what do you do with prasadam?
You
What was
accept
Give them-
prasadam from them
And accept it also.
and
from-
you also feed them
you also
whenever
feed them.
possible.
Whenever possible. Okay. And then what about the last one?
Opening one's mind to the devotees.
Okay.
Mataji, can you explain the meaning also, opening one's mind to the devotees?
Yes, yes, yes. We will go into that. And so, and then,
There is one more.
what is the 6th one?
Yeah, the 6th one is inquiring about devotional service from a devotee.
Inquiring to the devotee, right? So, and what is the Sanskrit? Guhyam Akhya.
Guhyam, yeah.
Okay. So from these 4 verses that you read in the from the Bhagavad Gita, which kind of exchange is happening here? You read those 4 verses from Bhagavad Gita, right? Sanjay said, right?
He opened his mind to Krishna, right?
Yeah.
Because
Who opened his mind?
Sanjay himself, his mind got opened by listening to the
By listening to that, his mind got opened. So what does that talk about devotee association?
Yeah, devotee.
Right? So although well, Krishna had given him Divya, Netra, so that he could watch what was happening on Mahabharata, but devotee association is so powerful that even from a distance he was able to influence. Right? And so you can see that he's saying, I repeatedly recall this wondrous and truly dialogue, right? So he repeatedly wants to do that because he likes it so much. Whenever he likes something, we want to repeat it, right? I take pleasure and I'm thrilled. Okay, what other aspect of the 6 loving exchanges do you see in these verses? What are the 6? Giving gifts, prasadam, and then inquiring confidentially. Right? So from the Bhagavad Gita, look at the verses.
The second one may be accepting from the devotees whatever they may offer in return.
Okay, so Krishna indirectly
Because
accepted
indirect-
and Sanjay
yes,
accepted.
yes.
Okay, go deeper and see something more is there. Look at 75.
So Arjuna inquired about devotional service from Krishna.
How?
By asking questions,
Questions.
In which way?
confident.
Confidentially,
Confidentially.
right? The confidence part. Guhyam Akhyati Prichiti is confidential. Otherwise we talk all the time, right? But like I'm talking here to all of you, right? But we won't be going into much confidential details, right? So here they're talking about that 6 loving exchanges between 2 devotees will be when you also talk to them in a confidential manner, right? And we'll take all of them one by one. So dadati prati grinati. Dadati means giving and taking. So what can you give? What can you give to a devotee? Let's take some ideas. What can you give me?
Prasad.
Prasad, okay.
Nice
Sure.
gifts we can give,
We
like
can give
clothes or some like
Devotional
household
gifts.
items.
Household items,
Yeah.
devotional items.
You can
Picture
give
frame.
your service to a devotee.
Very good. You can
That's
give a
nice,
service to a devotee.
Service. Like
Service to a devotee, which is indirectly you're giving them your time and your efforts, right? What else can you give?
love,
You can give love,
attention,
attention, right? And then what does Prabhupada talk about giving? What example of giving does he give?
Books and magazines
Books
about
and
Krishna
magazines.
consciousness.
Krishna consciousness, right? And then the last and the best thing is holy name, right? Holy name. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
You can also give your attention to the devotees. Some devotee can come and wants to talk to you or is feeling under the weather, and so we are listening to them and we're listening to the watch. We're checking our email also at the same time. We don't have eye contact, and the poor guy is saying something and we don't do that. So we can also give them our attention, right? And so this giving of things, giving and exchanging things is always shows that there is some kind of a love which is involved in between. Because otherwise sometimes we might just go to office and we don't have a loving exchange there, so we don't carry it. But when we are intimate with somebody, we are friendly with them, and the reason for that is that they are trying to develop the relationship between the devotees and make it much more stronger, because Maya is very strong. And if you're trying to fight Maya all alone, then she's going to win on us, right? And we are weak. But in the united we stand and divided we fall, right? So the devotees all unite each other, and we're able to do sadhana nicely and do it all together. So you need to have that kind of a relationship, and that kind of a bonding has to be there. And and then this verse is talking about, and this comes from Nectar of Instruction, which is also called Updeshamrita in Sanskrit. It was Nectar. This was translated by Srila Prabhupada, who founded ISKCON, and but this was originally written by Rupa Goswami, one of the 6 Goswamis that we are, and we are Rupa Lugas. We follow the Rupa Goswami's philosophy at ISKCON, so that's why we're following the Nectar of Instruction. Amazing books, very small, 11 verses in it, but amazing things there. So one of the things that we have to keep in mind is that when it comes to relationships, there is an external, certain things that you do externally, right? And then there are certain things that you will do internally also, but those things come later on. But usually, because we deal with the senses and we interact with this world through our senses, so the first thing that you see is the external, right? So I mean, you might have very nice feelings for me, but if I look at you, don't smile at me, how will I even know? Right? So you manifest things first, externally, and so one of the things of manifesting your love is to exchange gifts. For example, in the Bhagavatam, we hear the story about Sudama, and Sudama is very poor, and his wife says, "Hey, your friend Krishna is so rich; he's the king of Vrksa. Why don't you go there?" And so what does he do? He just doesn't go and go to meet Krishna like that. Although he's very poor, but what does he say? He says, "I want to carry some gift for him." This is the Dadati Pratiginati thing. So he wants to give first to Krishna, and no matter, and it was whatever he was trying to give. He was very poor, so he had some flat rice, that chura, and then that's what he took to Krishna, and his wife said, "Okay, you take this." But this was, from his perspective, from his economic standpoint, that was the maximum that he was giving, right?
Yes.
A food, a meal for a day. So he did that dadati, and then what did Krishna do? Pratigranati, right? Krishna took it, and he ate it, and his wife, when Rukmani is watching him eat, and she's saying that, Krishna, the one who eats so many different kinds of varieties of food, how he's eating this, because he's eating the love that Sudama had, poured into it. And then of course we know that in return Krishna gives him all the opulence, that even more than what he did like that. So Dadati Prati Grinati, so loving exchanges are always maintained between the devotees. What else? What else are the two things? Loving exchanges. Bhumte bhajate, should we pick that up? That's a popular one. Bhumte bhajate cheva. So we eat things together, right? We exchange food and we eat. And again, this is what will you do when you sit down to eat? This means that you'll invite somebody to your home, and in the process of inviting somebody to your home, you'll have to clean your home. Right? Saints are coming to your home, right? So it'll clean up, and then you will cook something nicely, and then you will offer the prasadam, right? So it's prasadam that we offer, and it's very, very important that it's prasadam that we give. So what happens, like when you cook prasadam, or when you cook anything, your consciousness gets into the food, right? So sometimes men, and I'm not talking about you guys are good, Uh, sometimes men might, suppress their wives a lot, and they are financially dependent on them, so they won't say anything. So on the surface, it might look that husband did something to the wife, talked to her in loud voice, or beat her up or anything like that, and the wife didn't do anything. But then you don't know. The wife goes into the kitchen and she pours all her anger into that chapati that she's really with the husband going to eat. Right? So 80%, 80% of the stuff, 80%, Ayurveda says that, well, it is difficult. Digestion is a difficult process. Now, you are young, you might not agree with that. But as you grow older, you will realize the fact that digestion is a complex process and becomes difficult to digest. And I used to remember that when I was young, if we ever, like we were very strict about not overeating at my home. So you would have breakfast, you would have lunch, and you have dinner. And in between there would be some 4 o'clock tea or something like that. I never liked tea, so I never had that. And so we used to not snacking in between that kind of stuff. At the most, you will just, the tree had fruits, so you would eat those fruits. But once in a while, sometimes somebody will bring a samosa. and, and then we would eat samosa. Oh, when wonderful, 5 o'clock, eat the samosa. And my mom would give up dinner that night. And I was like, how come she does that? Why does she say that, I just had a samosa, just a tiny samosa. But now I know, having reached her age, now I know that, you can't, digestion is a difficult thing. And so in Ayurveda actually says that 80% of the digestion process actually depends on the consciousness that is there in the food. So that is why when you're cooking prasadam for Krishna, preparing the bhoga for Krishna, then your consciousness has to be pure. We should not be thinking about politics happening in the office or somebody else in our life is giving us trouble and all that annoyance is going into the food. Right? So we should be actually thinking about Krishna, listening to some nice lectures or playing some kirtan and things like that, right? So cook together, no prajalpa, if more than 2 people are cooking, no prajalpa, which is loose talks while you're cooking. And then you offer it nicely, offer the prasadam nicely to Krishna. And then Krishna, he looks at it and it says, Angani yasya sakalendriya vriddhivanti. So Krishna can do, one sense of Krishna can do the job of other sense of Krishna. So Krishna can eat with his eyes, and that's what he does. And thank God for us, because if Krishna starts eating with his hand, all the prasadam will be gone. Right? So what will you get in return? So he just eats, and he just looks at it. And so what he looks into the bhoga that you're offering is the love with which you have prepared it. And so when he eats that bhoga, then he gives it back to you as mercy. So prasadam actually is Krishna's mercy. And you are what you eat. So when you eat prasadam, that is what. So distributing prasadam and exchanging prasadam with people is a very good thing to do. And Krishna, Prabhupada over here in the purport, he's saying that even in the ordinary social activities you do that. But of course there you wine and dine. We are not talking about wining and dining, we are talking about having prasadam. And that's why sometimes you will notice that men especially come and say, no matter how good the wife is preparing the food, they might just say, oh, that dal, oh, nobody can make it the way my mom made it. So why are they so mom sensitive? Like, why are they so hung up on the mom? It's because when the mom cooks the food for the child, she's putting all her love into that food. So that it's always a difference between, or when the kids go away and start living in a college dorm, right? So the food is being served, and it is good food. There's paneer every day. You never have paneer every day in your home, but they don't like it. They hunger for their mom's food. What is it? What is the difference? Right? So that is why the love is there, which is missing. Because when a person is working and is taking cooking as part of a job, where he's being paid for that, so there will be annoyance there, because number one, he's not paying me good enough. Number two, I had to go somewhere. He did not give me the time off today. So all that consciousness goes into the food which is there. So we have to be very careful about that. So that's why distributing prasadam, and that was something that Prabhupada did a lot. When he came here to USA, he was literally, if you look at some of the writings of Prabhupada from his days, some of the diaries that he maintains, he was keeping track, and you will attest to it, Banwari Prabhu, that he was keeping track of 5 cents I spent here, 5-10 cents I took a bus ticket and things like that. So he was not a millionaire, or ISKCON was not a millionaire at that time, but still Prabhupada would have at least, he will take one apple, he would offer the apple to Krishna, cut it to pieces, and then anybody who came, he would then offer the prasadam to them. So because having prasadam, exchanging prasadam is a done deal. You have to do that. And then of course, he came here from India and into a foreign land, and he would cook. He would cook, and devotees in the beginning didn't know his talents about cooking. I mean, he would have rasgullas and gulab jamuns and samosas and that. But then later on, Prabhupada used to cook, demonstrate, and show to people, and he taught so many of his disciples how to cook. And people used to ask him that, Prabhupada, how do you know so many things? Who taught you how to cook? And he used to say, I used to observe my mom, and from that I learned that. But this was a loving exchange that Prabhupada did with his disciples, with the disciples that were there, and he would cook for them. And it was prasadam. Some of his disciples, later on they said, I just went there with my friend because there was a jar. There would always be a jar of gulab jamuns there, and so that is where the way to the heart is to the stomach. They say, and that's why he won the hearts of the devotees around him, and quite a few of them became his disciples like that. And again, you will like to exchange prasadam in the association of a devotee. And there's a very nice verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, Satam prasanna mama virya samvido bhajanti vidkarna rasayana katha yat yoshnadashu apavarga vartmani sadharate bhakti manukramashiti. So these kind of exchanges that we are talking about will lead to more devotee association. And when you are in the association of devotee, for example, even before Saturday comes, Khyati Marji is jumping in her seat. When is the next Bhakti break? When is the next Bhakti break? Why? Why does she want to do that? Why is it Bhakti break? Why does she not just throw a birthday party for herself? Right? Because she's looking for devotee association. And I bet all of you have that feeling that, oh, today is Bhakti break and I'm going there. So when she called me earlier and she said, oh, there's Bhakti break, so I'm like, oh, wow, which chapter is there in the Bhakti break book now that we go and read and we'll exchange, together.
And her love.
Yeah, and the love which is there. I mean, Vaisheshika Prabhu was there last 2 weeks, two terms ago, and then what he said was that love was palpable. So this is very, very important. The love that devotees have amongst each other beats all kind of love that you have in the world. It is so amazing that especially when a husband and wife are devotees, and ISKCON devotees or even not ISKCON devotees. As they grow in their spiritual life and grow in age also, that attraction that they have towards the spouse actually diminishes in one form and increases in another form, right? And so in the beginning, two people get married, there's the bodily attraction and there is the bodily enjoyment is there. And that is the highest kind of enjoyment that you can have in the material world, right? But then, as you evolve in devotional service, you're getting out of this material concept and you're moving towards the devotional side of it. Then the joy that you get there is indescribable. It's many, many million times more than that. And if you remember that the time that Prabhupada came over here, the USA was full of hippies. If not full, at least there were hippies in USA. And they came from good families. Quite a few of them came from good families, which meant that they had good food to eat, they had good of everything, right? But they were still hungering for something, right? And they led a very promiscuous life. This girlfriend today, that girlfriend tomorrow, sleeping in, all that kind of stuff. But when Prabhupada introduced devotional service to them, they were able to give it up so easily. You can only give up something, like Bhagavad Gita says, Vishya vinivartante niraharasya dehina rasavarjam rasopyasya param drishtva nivartante. He says that, if you like something and if you artificially try to control it and say, I'm not going to eat it, for example, if you are eating bread and butter, and I tell you, Suman, from this point onwards, you're not supposed to eat bread and butter. And then you might say, oh yeah, she's my mom, I have to obey, and then, you might not eat bread and butter, but you'll be thinking about bread and butter. You'll be waiting for the day the mom removes the ban and says, okay, now you can eat bread and butter. But if you come across something which is better than bread and butter, for example, cake, right, or even a sandwich, then for you to leave the bread and butter will be very easy. That is because param drishtva nivartate, you have attained a superior taste. So when you get a superior taste, it's very easy to give up the lower taste that you have. So similarly, when Prabhupada introduced devotional service to all these people, they were able to very quickly give up the lower taste that they had, and that is why the hippies became devotees, because they find something much, much better over there.
That is correct.
There you go. Mari Prabhu, Prabhupada disciple, we are so happy and fortunate to have him here with us. And so they were able to do that. So and if we have a lower taste, then going into the association of devotees, association has got a very strong effect. Prabhupada gives the classic example of fire. What are some of the properties of fire?
Light and heat.
Light and heat. Very good, right? So it's the dharma of fire, that it will give light and it will give heat and it will burn, right? So dharma means it will do it irrespective for everybody. So if a 90-year-old knowing that this is fire touches fire, he will get burned. If a small child goes and touches the fire is not going to say, oh, poor innocent child, I'm not going to burn him. Fire won't do that. That's the dharma of fire, right? And so the dharma of fire is to burn. Now if I take a piece of iron rod, the dharma of iron rod is not to burn. You can take iron rod, you can touch it to this piece of paper, it won't burn because it doesn't have. But if you take an iron rod and you bang it on somebody's head, it will have its effect, right? So there will be a bump on the head. However, if we take this iron rod and we keep it in the association of fire, we put it in the furnace with the fire, and after some time, if I take that iron rod and I touch it to the piece of paper, it will act like fire. It will start burning the piece of paper. So what happens in the association is that you start getting the qualities of the people that you associate with. That's why they said you are the company. A man is known by the company he keeps, because you will inherit those properties. And actually, we know that. For example, suppose I'm not too much into wardrobe and clothes and things like that. Suppose, right? And then I come across somebody who likes clothes a lot, and I associate with that person every day. So in the course of our conversation, that person is going to tell, do you know what, there's a sales at Macy's, and do you know this, and this goes very well, this jewelry goes very well with this, oh, you are wearing this, but how about this? So slowly when you hear these kind of conversations, those thoughts are going to come into your head. And then you will also say, okay, let me go to Macy's and let me try it out. Right? So now what has happened to you? You never liked wardrobe, but now you're going there and you're doing the same thing. So that's the effect of association that you have. It's just like iron gets converted there through the association. And actually, in the Bhagavatam it also says, for devotee they say, Yoshita means woman. Yoshita, try to stay away from women. They're talking to men and vice versa. So it says that, worse than, for men, worse than associating with women is to associate with a man who associates with women. You see, worse than associating with women is to associate with a man who associates with women. And the reason why is that you could be associating with women just in a, maybe pally-pally, you like them but you're too scared to say anything to them and it's all in your head. But if you associate with a man who associates with women, he will teach you some tricks. And then you go and apply it over there. So association can be very good and can be very bad as well. For example, when Haridas Thakur was there and he was chanting and people didn't like it, so what did they do? They paid a prostitute and said, go to his place, in the night, and then do your thing, and then we will go and catch him red-handed, and then he will have a bad name all over. So this prostitute goes to Haridas Thakur, decked very nicely, and Haridas Thakur used to chant 3 lakh names of the Lord, right? And which took him about almost the whole day to do that. So when this lady goes there, prostitute, I can't call her lady. So when she goes there, then Haridas Thakur says, okay, let's wait, let me finish my rounds. So then she sits down and Haridas Thakur is chanting and the whole night goes away. And so in the morning she says, oh, whole night is gone. So she says, okay, he says, okay, she says, okay, I'll come again tomorrow. So the next day also the prostitute comes, and next day Haridas Thakur does the same thing. He says, okay, let me finish my rounds. Then the third day she comes, and then those men are pressurizing him like, hey, we paid you money, what's going on, where are the results, they're asking her. And so then she came very determined the third day that this is my day, and then Haridas Thakur also says, yes, I will honor whatever your wishes are, let me finish my rounds. And so he sits down and he starts chanting, and of course the whole night goes in chanting. He's not completed his 3 lakhs, he completes his 3 lakhs by then. And then he opens his eyes and he says, guess what? The prostitute is sitting there, she's chanting. So that is the effect of association. And to complete the story, this prostitute later on gave away all her jewelry and all the money that she had, and she became a disciple of Haridas Thakur, shaved her head, and she would just do chanting in front of the Tulsi tree. So association is very, very, that's why they say Satam Prasangam. Satam is a devotee, Prasangam means association with him. Satam Prasangam Mama Virya Samvido. Right? So I'm just going to read the translation. In the association of pure devotees, discussion of the pastimes and activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is very pleasing and satisfying to the ear and the heart. By cultivating such knowledge, one gradually becomes advanced on the path of liberation, and thereafter he is freed and his attraction becomes fixed. Then real devotion and devotional service begins. So for you to say that my devotional service is going to begin, we need the association of devotees. If you are not in the association of devotees, if you are thinking I'm going to do devotional service sitting all alone in a room, then you are all alone, yes, but you're not all alone because you are with your mind. And your mind, and you are with your senses. And senses need engagement. They will look here, they look there, look out of the window, and the mind will start planning ideas. And before that, you know, your mala has dropped up somewhere, you are gone out of the room. But when devotees are there, you know, they will pull. If somebody is not doing it, they will pull. For example, that's why you see the brahmacharis, they all live together. Why do they all live together? So that if one brahmachari doesn't come to the Mangal Aarti in the morning, others will say, hey Ryan, what happened? What were you doing? Right? So because of the peer pressure also, you know, you will stay on the in the straight and the narrow path. So devotee association is extremely, extremely important to have and then also to maintain like that. So we talked about, you know, two ways of, you know, maintaining the devotee association. One is that you exchange things, right? You exchange things like that. And the other is that you do prasadam, you honor the prasadam. Prasadam is actually mercy of the Lord. Prasade sarva dukkhanam hane rasya pajayate prasanna chetasya vasi buddhi pariya vasistate. You know, by the mercy. Mercy can come in the form of prasadam. Mercy can also come from a pure devotee of the Lord, right? So like that. So association, association, association. King Bharat, he was in the association of a deer. He was sitting all alone. He was lacking the association of devotees. He said, I can do it alone. But then what happened? The deer came, right? And then at the time of death, King Bharat was thinking about the deer. Yam yam vapi smaranamam tajyatyante kalevam tam tam evati kanteya sadata bhavita. Whatever you think at the time of death, you're going to become that in your next life. In the next life, lo and behold, he became a deer. Like that. So, when you are in the association of devotees, people really like to discuss things. They really like to discuss Krishna. If you're not in the association of devotees, they won't like you discussing about Krishna. For example, George Harrison. You know, George Harrison was a hero, right? Very famous singer, and he was taken to Krishna consciousness. He met Prabhupada, and actually the Krishna book was sponsored by him. He gave £20,000 for that, which was a huge amount of money at that time, 50 years ago or so. And so he was a Beatle, so he used to sing the normal songs, and he was a very famous person. And what do these normal songs do? I mean, they are on love and affection and missing your sweetheart and things like that. Basically, they are for your sense gratification. All these songs will titillate our base and lower instincts. And so that, and we satisfy, or maybe my voice could be very good and I could be singing a love song, and you know, that goes and pleases the ear and the heart of a person in the mundane and the worldly, society. So I become famous because I'm catering to your senses. I'm catering to your needs, and I'm giving you what you want so that you get the pleasure out of it. And you like me, and many people like me. So when many people like me, I become famous, right? That's how you get the fame. So George Harrison was he was doing nice things, you know, nice worldly things, and so he had that. But then he started taking to Krishna consciousness. He started cutting some text. So okay, fine, you know, in a concert where you sing 15 songs, one after song you just say Hare Krishna, the public is in that crazy mood and they will also chant Hare Krishna. But then what started happening was that, you know, as he grew more and more and more, he started bringing in Krishna consciousness more and more and more. All his songs were more into Krishna consciousness, but then his popularity declined. Why? Because non-devotees will not like it. You know, once in a while it's okay, a little Hare Krishna is okay, but you know, giving them a dose of Hare Krishna every day, no. But devotees, on the other hand, they give up cinema, they give up television, they give up trashy novels. They say, all that I want to hear is Krishna Katha. You talk about something, and after some time you notice they're talking about Krishna Katha. Mat chitta mattagata prana, bodhayantas parasparam, kathyantas tamam nityam, tushyanti cha ramanti cha. So in the Bhagavad Gita, in the 10th chapter, where we have the Chaturshloki Bhagavad Gita, they're talking about devotees. Mat chitta mattagata prana. So if you think about that, their lives are, hung on Krishna. And bodhayantas parasparam. Parasparam means between the two of them, or amongst themselves. Parasparam is among themselves. Bodhayanta, they are now talking, discussing, trying to understand. Right? Bodhayantas paramparam. Tushyanti cha ramanti cha. Ramanti means ramjana. Right? Ramanti means ramjana. That you are so engaged and totally into it. You are totally into it, ramjana. And the Ramjana can happen in so many ways, and you can Ramjana and you can Ram in some other place or some other topic as well, right? I mean, you could be playing a game of chess and you could be fully concentrated on that, right? But that is not Krishna Katha, right? But devotees will get Ramanti. In the discussions of Krishna Katha, they won't even know what is the time, where did the time fly. They don't want to cook, they don't want to eat. I mean, and they look forward to Ekadashi, because I don't have to cook, I don't have to eat, I don't have to digest, So they talk about these kind of things, right? They start looking at, because all these things a devotee will see is a deterioration, is an obstacle towards his devotional life, like that. So they look forward to these kind of things. So in a devotee association, Ramanti, they are totally engaged and immersed in that. And Tushyanti, they are happy, they are satisfied. So Tushti will come only, and the real tushti can come only through Krishna consciousness, and which I mentioned that the hippies were at the height of a worldly enjoyment, but they did not have satisfaction. They were willing to give up that life, and the ladies were willing to wear saris and cover their heads and bow down to Prabhupada and try to serve them. And we hear so many stories about Prabhupada's disciples, and that's all devotee and devotee association. I mean, so many times I hear about devotees who are transferred out from here and they are put into some place in Iowa or anything like that, and they're like, oh, how will I get devotee association? How will I get devotee association? And that's how we bring in now technology. That okay, you're sitting here and you're a devotee, but what about Neeral Prabhu? And he's up in Pune. Well, he joins the internet through internet. He joins on Facebook. He comes to that. We have DD Darshan, that we have WhatsApp group where we show pictures of the DD. And I remember when Sudevi Mataji moved to, she said, I'm moving to Foster City 2 weeks from now. So she was already getting agitated there. She was setting her ground, she was setting the ground, and she was making her plan that, when I come here to the Bay Area, how am I going to get devotee association? Like that. So devotees will do that. Devotees will do that. So association. Then what are the last two things that we do?
Inquiring, opening our mind and inquiring.
Opening our mind and then inquiring about it, right? So opening our mind and inquiring about it. So interestingly, I was talking about that how when two devotees get married, initially they are, husband and wife, and later on, the husband, the spouse might see the other person not as a spouse, might not see the other person as a spouse, will just see that as a devotee. And the moment you start seeing the other person as devotee, actually your marital life gets better. Because you won't do anything wrong to a devotee, right? You'll think twice about talking, in a loud way to a devotee, because you see, this is a devotee. I dare not me pange nahi lene ka. This is a devotee, like that. Right? So, and then the wife will also take it accordingly. Because I remember there was a ISKCON senior devotee, and people were interviewing him about his life, and he mentioned this. That I see my wife as his devotee. So the person who was interviewing turned to the wife and said, so what do you think about this statement he made? So she said, yeah, like 30 years ago when I was married, and if my husband ever said the sentence which hinted that I'm not the center of his life, hell would have broken down. But now, since I've also evolved so much in devotional service, even I see him only as a devotee, like that. So that kind of a gradual, thing happens, because they are devotees and they are in the association of each other, so you can see how they are blooming together like that. So then Goyam Akhyati Prikshiti. So in the beginning, the association was of a different type, and then as you grow, the association and the discussions that you make and the talks that you make could be of a very different nature. For example, Kathy could be talking to me about the visa problems. It's a mundane level thing, right? And then later on, she goes and talks to a devotee, and the devotee gives a totally different twist and talks to her about karma, and then visa, and then prayers and things like that. So it's a totally different way of handling the visa problem, right? And it's association of devotees. And then as as people advance in devotional service, they might talk about services. And their discussions could be, how do I balance my service with my sadhana? Or how do I balance my service with the job that I do? See, so they could still be inquiring, right? So nowadays you're looking very tired, they might say, right? So is everything okay? Do you have a balance? So the other person might then open their mind. So that was your question. They might just come and tell you that what is happening. And then I have a small baby and I really don't know, and I'm supposed to chant 16 rounds and I'm really feeling very bad and I don't know why this baby has come, and my devotional service is completely ruined, and a lady might say that, right? She's opening her mind. She might not be able to say that to the husband, might not be able to say that to the in-laws, but will open her mind to you, right? And then other devotee might Guhyam Akhyati Prichati, so they were inquiring, where he said, a senior person will instruct a junior person. So you have to be very careful where you open your mind. Brahman Nijman ki mat vratha man hi rakhe hoy sun atli hai log sab baat na leha koi. So Ramana Dasi, in the very same mood, he says that if you have got a vyatha, if you've got some trouble in your mind, you keep it to yourself. Don't go and broadcast it to everybody, put it on Facebook and things like that. Why? Because he's saying that people in general masses will just suni atli hai. They will listen to it and atli hai, they will atas, they will laugh. Nobody will share it with you. Right? So that is why they're saying that among the devotees who are definitely of a higher caliber of people, is that you will open your mind. Also among the devotees, to whom will you go and open your mind? Right? There are levels of devotees. There's Kanishta devotees, junior devotees, Madhyam devotees, and there are high devotees. You should, depending on who you are and whatever level that you are, right? You could be a Madhyamadikari. You should always open your mind to somebody at a higher level. Because when you open your mind and you bring out whatever is there in your mind, then that other person should be in a position to give you a solution to whatever you're opening your heart to. So this opening the heart might not depend on, the senior and junior might not depend on the age. Right? A junior person might be able to advise you because of being surely more advanced in the devotional service, like that. So people can come and, so this George Harrison story that I was talking about, that he was not very popular, when his popularity started going down, he went and inquired to Prabhupada confidentially. He said to Prabhupada that, Prabhupada, I'm talking about Krishna more and more, and why are these people rejecting me like that? And then Prabhupada said that, you don't have to, this is a fact. He said, this is a sad fact, but don't overdo it. Right? So he advised him, like, don't overdo that. So it depends on, whom you are asking to, you will get a similar response. For example, there was a lady, devotee, and she rented a apartment to live in, and then some pipes burst in the kitchens, and then there was a very horrible stinking smell that was in the complete apartment. So she went and complained to the rental office people, and they said, okay, according to the insurance and all that kind of stuff, you can go and live in a hotel for X number of days till it takes us to fix it. So she was fine, she went there, but her worry at that time was that my prasadam, if I'm going to live in a hotel, where will I cook prasadam? See, this is how devotees think. Prasadam, bhukte, bhojate, I have to eat it. And so she first went and talked to people at her work. And people at her work advised her to go and find a lawyer and go and fight it out. Right? So that is what the kind of advice you will give. You go to mundane people, they'll give you mundane advice. And sometimes, you need some mundane advice, because you have to handle the mundane as well. But that is not solving a prasadam problem. Right? Getting a lawyer is not going to solve a prasadam problem. He's not going to get prasadam for you. Right? But then she also happened to talk to some of the devotees, and they said, why are you worried about it? We are here. We will cook prasadam for you. And we will send prasadam for you. Her prasadam problem is solved. And then they also told her, don't get into the lawyer business, The moment it is your apartment is fixed, you just move back. You know, you're staying over here, good thing, look at it this way, you don't have to wash your dishes, you know. We are making prasadam. So she stayed there, and then the bad news came that, you know, it's going to take even a longer time, like, you know, 3 or 4 months to fix that apartment. And they said that we can't keep you in a hotel for 6 months. So what is she going to do? So then we advised it, you know. Again, she came, this time she was by, she came back, came to the devotees, and the devotees said that, you know, okay, go and bargain with them and say that, you know, I'm going to break the lease. Because, you know, you can't do that. So they advised, and she went and talked, she moved into another apartment. So where are you going into, with whom are you going and talking, and what are the Gunya Makhyati Prachiti that you're doing? It could be something simple like that, it could be about services. And then as you grow into devotional service, the kind of discussions that you do, a wife and a husband, or you know, one devotee and a devotee, one friend and another friend, they will be talking about Krishna. Their Gunya Makhyati Prachiti will be about Krishna. This is what I think, do you think it is right? This is what I think, this is what is happening. Or they might talk about the obstacles that they are facing in devotional services. Sometimes, you know, you know, devotees even come, sometimes they come to me and they will say that, you know, Shraddha Machi, how do I handle this? She's my best friend and something good happened to her, but I'm feeling envious. This is Gunya Makhyati Prachiti. You know, they are inquiring in confidence, this is what is happening to me. I wanted something and she got it. What do I do? How do I handle? So Gunya Makhyati Prachiti is again, you know, a very, very important thing for people to do. So these are the 6 kind of loving exchanges that you will do so that your devotee association will become stronger and stronger, because that is what is ultimately required in devotional service. So there are a few minutes left here. So any reflections that you have? Anything that you are going to carry back with you today?
You said that you were talking about the hippies. I know a lot about the hippies.
Please.
Because I was a teenager back then. But, and you were saying that they can get anything they want generally, but they were not satisfied. So it was interesting, in 1965, when Prabhupada came to America, the most popular song that year was by the Rolling Stones. And it was, I Can't Get No Satisfaction. And my family went to Europe that summer, and we, from the moment we got off the plane, we rented a van, a camper. We went all over Europe for 5 weeks. We heard that every day. That song.
Wow, wow. There you go.
And
Very well,
so,
yeah.
I
Very
think it
strong
worked out
point,
very,
yes.
very interestingly
Exactly.
with Prabhupada coming to
Yes,
the
yes.
Western world.
Western world, that particular
Yeah.
time, yes. Thank you for sharing that.
Mataji, if by your permission, since we talked so much about devotees association, I wanted to read one verse from
Please.
Bhagavatam.
Please tell us the verse.
This is from 11th canto, 12th chapter. Beyond renunciation and knowledge is part of Uddhav Gita.
Oh, very nice, please.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, My dear Uddhava, by associating with my pure devotees, one can destroy one attachment for all objects of material sense gratification. Such purifying association brings me under the control of my devotee. And then he goes on to say, list lot of things. One may perform the Ashtanga Yoga system, engage in philosophical analysis of material elements, practice non-violence, other ordinary principles of piety, chant the Vedas, perform penances, take to the renounced order of life, execute sacrificial performance and dig wells, plant trees and perform other public welfare activities, give in charity, carry out severe vows, worship demigods, chant confidential mantras, visit holy places, or accept major and minor disciplinary injunctions. But even by performing such activities, one does not bring me under his control. So this is like kind of the conclusion, and it's
Very good,
glorifying
exactly.
the association.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for putting in this verse into the evidence of a case against my.
I think one thing that stayed with me, whom are you asking for solution, right? That has potential to opening your mind and thinking about different level to solve the problem. then what you would do otherwise. So I think we all have ideas at some point of time how we fix our problems, but
Yes.
talking to a devotee, sometimes they give you advice which is not something that you would like to do.
And digest it immediately.
Yeah, so it happens slowly, but I think that's very powerful. That will solve for longer run rather than temporary fixing.
Gently fix it, patches, yeah. And that kind of also takes us back to what the example that I've given in the beginning, that you go to an astrologer and he says
Yeah,
you have a problem,
yeah,
you're
yeah.
just trying to do, I mean, if you look at some of the prayers that they'll do to, this Devi and that Devi, they're always talk about Vipta Taro. So what is Taro? Taro is, to postpone. Well, the facts are there, they're barely laid out in the table, we don't understand
Yeah,
them.
I think it's better approach is even if it is coming now, how do I improve my capability so that I can face it very nicely, right?
Exactly.
That is more important than postponing it.
Exactly. And that is what a pure devotee prays to Krishna. He doesn't even say that, remove all the obstacles from my life. Pure devotee says, give me the strength to handle whatever you want should happen to me.
And when we think that way, it's easier.
Yes.
Yeah, she was talking about
Right.
the same thing today.
Actually, things life becomes very easy if you give it to Krishna. The decisions, if you give them to Krishna, Krishna always makes very good decisions, very good solutions. Krishna's solutions are beyond the world.
That is the last
yeah.
shloka in the Bhagavad Gita, right? If you cannot do anything, just surrender to me.
Yes. Sarv dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja. Aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshishyami ma sujata. Abandon all varieties of religion, just surrender it to me. But that surrender we don't do. We don't want to do because that's who we are. We don't want to surrender to Krishna. That's why we are here.
No, we have forgotten our true self. That is why.
No. We didn't
Even
want to
surrender.
We didn't want to surrender to Krishna and Golok Vrindavan. We wanted to enjoy independent of Krishna. So that's what we are. And we have to understand that. We have to understand that we are just like we say that he's a criminal, he's in jail. We are also criminals in this jail of material world.
We are on a bail.
Yeah, and then
Madhuri, one point that I really liked was the internal and the external aspect of devotion. So in the internal aspect, you get purified yourself by Shravanam Kirtanam.
yes.
But then the
External.
equally important aspect is the external one as well,
Absolutely.
where you need to be connected with devotees, have prasadam.
Yes.
And I think that in today's world, if you talk to a lot of people, you do see that internal aspect little bit. They do understand that God is within you,
It's required.
but then they don't have any other medium to have that external
Yes.
association. I think that's what is lacking, and that's what we have got by getting connected with ISKCON and being in Krishna consciousness,
Exactly.
because we have the combination of both internal and
It's
external.
very important. Yeah. And being in the association of devotees, sometimes devotees can give you a lot of grief. They can do that. And we might just come with very high ideas and very high standards of he's a devotee, and their behavior should be like that. We have a stereotype in our mind, or we might just see. You might see a senior devotee, shouting at somebody, and you might say like, "Oh, why this is happening?" And we are told, to behave properly. So sometimes you might even see a senior devotee say something to you, and then because of humility, you're not saying something, which is a very good practice. It's a practice in humility, because we are not humble. If we were humble, we would be in Golok Vrindavan. We are not humble inherently. Yeah. Today I was attending a lecture from Radhika Raman Mayank, and we were watching it online. So he was saying that by default, impersonalism is the default, which is actually that I am God. Ultimately leads to that. That he was saying, yeah. So
One also very, I think, nice point here is that Krishna consciousness is innate in every living entity, and it is just like sometimes hidden or dormant because of ignorance. Just by listening or chanting Hare Krishna, it can become a
very nice. And they put a word from Chaitanya Chitra. Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Sadhyo Kabhi Nai Shravanadi Shuddha Chitte Koriyo Vai. And when I read this, it was like I was so overjoyed when I read that, because what it is saying is that this is the Krishna Prema. He's saying Krishna Prema sadhya kabinai. Sadhya is a goal. So what he's saying is that love for Krishna cannot be your goal. Because goal is something that you don't have. For example, I'm not a millionaire, so I can have a goal that I'm going to become a millionaire. So when I get that $1 million, I get it, then I reach the goal. But here it is saying that Krishna Prema is not your goal. Why it is not your goal? Because you already have it.
It's within you.
This is the best thing. So what is it? So Krishna is there in your heart. And that love, your love for Krishna is also there. And that love for Krishna, why are we not able to see Krishna? Right? Krishna is there in our heart, as we read that he's there in our heart as Krishna, Shraddha devi Vishnu. So why is he not? Why is Surya? Why are you not able to see Krishna? Surya? Suraj.
Suraj.
Sorry. I'm speaking in Sanskrit.
Surya.
Are you able to see Krishna?
Krishna, in DT forms and pictures, yes.
Yes. Yeah. But do you see him in your heart?
No, it's hard to look at that.
You have to get there, right? So it's very hard for all of us to get to Krishna in the beginning and to see him in the heart. And what prevents you from
Unless someone does an X-ray on you, even that won't work.
Very good.
Very
Yeah.
nice.
Even if you get an X-ray of your heart, you won't be able to see Krishna.
Krishna.
Right?
Wow.
Because Krishna is transcendental. So what prevents you from seeing Krishna are the layers of dust which are there in your heart. That's why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Cheto Darpana Marjanam. So when you die, the way you cleanse your utensils in Marjanam, similarly you have to cleanse your heart of the dust of lust, anger, envy, pride, the 6 of them there. And once you remove that layer, you will see Krishna. And who helps you in removing? Devotee association. Right? And in the devotee association, what do? You listen to the Krishna. And you listen to Krishna Katha, right? And then Shrunvatam Sva Katha Krishna, Punya Shravana Kirtana, Hridyantasto Vya Bhadrani, Vidhunoti Shuhitam, Satam, So good people, yes. Surya.
Mataji, when the 5 or 6 senses were born in Devaki's womb, Kamsa cut them. So then she had none of them. But how come the womb got impurified? Her 6 sons that were the 6 senses got head off. Got their head off.
So actually the 6 sons, the first 6 sons of Devaki, they were killed by Kamsa. They represent the 6 vices in us. So he is asking how come Lord Balram had to appear to purify the womb. So why he had to appear to, why he is asking is why the 6 things, why did they, he's saying impurify, I don't know the word. So
Okay, yeah.
so he's asking why those 6 things.
Association.
Yeah,
So whatever you
those
associate
6 senses got
6 vices.
killed. So then, how come
it is like association. For example, if somebody has got cough, right? Has suffering from cough and cold. So if you go and touch that person, you will catch the germs, right? So what they are saying is when those 6 were there in the womb, whatever they had, their vices, right? So when you come in association with that, then you will also inherit those properties, right? We talked the example of an iron rod in the fire, right? So when you come in association, you get the properties of the other object with which you are associating. Similarly, if you come in association with Krishna or Balram, right? So now you are associating with something good. So then the purification happens. So Krishna, it says that, in Isha Parishad it says Krishna is what? Krishna is both a antiseptic and a prophylactic. So what is the prophylactic? Prophylactic is something that you prevents it. And antiseptic is after you get the infection, now what to do? Okay, now you apply the antiseptic. So Krishna's name will do both the things to you. So if you are taking Krishna's name, then you will not get affected by bad things, by vices. But if you have got vices, if you get associated with Krishna's name, then the vices will go away. So that story, if you look at it from that perspective, I'm trying to bring in the vices aspect of it. when they are sick, vices will purify, will make it impure, right? Spoil it.
Is it kirtan time yet?
I brought you on.
See, this is how a devotee says, right? Is it kirtan time? And a non-devotee will think, where is dinner? Okay, so on that, this is a very nice segue. So we'll go into, you wanted to do nursing prayers?
Yeah, let's do nursing prayers.
But you need the kartal now.
Kartal is all yours. Yeah. Please let it be known.
Let the kartal.
So you okay, let's do 1 to 1. Right?
Wow.
Yeah. Very nice, very nice. Yeah. Smile,
sing.
smile.
Smile and then sing.
Okay.
Narshinga.
So how are you going to sing? You're going to sing, you're going to lead, you're going to sing and we will respond, or you want all of us to sing together?
I will sing and you respond.
We'll respond? Alrighty, sir. Very good. Please, let's go.
Namaste Narasimhaya.
Namaste Narasimhaya. Prahlad Ladadaine Hiranyakashi Vrksa. Shilatan Kanakalaye
Yeto Narsimha Parato Narsimha
Ito Narsimha Parato Narsimha
Yeto Yami Tato Narsimha
Yato Yato Yami Tato Narsimha
Bahir Narsimha Hridaye
Bahir
Narsimha
Narsimha Hridaye Narsimha Narasimhamadin Sharanam Prapade
Tava Kara Kamala Vare Natha Adbhuta Shringa Dalita Hiranyakashipur Tanuringa Keshavarita Narari Rupa Jai Jagadish Hare Jai Jagadish Hare Jai Jagadish Hare
Kara Kara Kamalavare Natha Adbhuta Shringa Dalita Hiranyakashipu Tanu Bringa Keshavadrita Narhari Rupa Jai Jagadish Hare Jai Jagadish Hare Jai Jagadish Hare
Jaya Prahlad Maharaj Jaya Prahlad What is your name? Okay, Nadev Jaya Narsimha Jaya Narsimha Dev Jaya Narsimha Dev
Jaya Narsimha Dev Jaya Narsimha Dev
Jaya Prahlad Maharaj Jaya Prahlad Maharaj Jaya Prahlad Maharaj Jaya Prahlad Maharaj
Jaya Prahlad Maharaj Jaya Prahlad Maharaj Jaya Prahlad Maharaj Jaya Prahlad Maharaj
Jaya Jaya Gurudev
Prabhupada.
Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Gurudev,
Gurudev, Gurudev, Jaya Jaya Gurudev.
Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol.
Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol.
Nitai Gaur Premanandi
Hari Bol.
Suraj Prabhu ki
Jai.
Very nice, good boy.
Hari Bol.
Okay, then we come to the song of the day.
Prasadam prayers.
Prasadam prayers. Okay. We'll all sing it together.
I know how to sing that too.
You do
Oh,
that.
that's
Yes,
it.
we'll all sing together Prasadam prayer.
Okay.
Okay.
You need Kartal
Kathy,
again?
you have some Prasadam prayers? You want to play Kartal during Prasadam prayers? Here.
You want to try?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were doing a 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 1 2 1 rhythm. I saw you.
I can do it the better
Practice,
if I'm
practice.
not distracted in singing.
No, you have to do the two together.
Together.
I can't do
You
those.
can do it.
Even I can't
So
do it.
I'll do.
With tunable practice.
Okay.
Try.
Mahaprasade Govinde,
Namo Brahmani Vaishnave,
Namo Brahmani Vaishnave,
Namo Brahmani Vaishnave,
Swalpa Punyavatan Rajan,
Swalpa Punyavatan Rajan,
Vishwaso Nirvajayate,
Vishwaso Naiva Jayate,
Sharire Avidyajal,
Sharira Avidyajal,
Jodindriya Tahe Kal,
Jodindriya Tahe Kal,
Jive Phile Vishaya
Jive Phile Vishaya Sagore,
Taramate Jivati,
Taramadhai Jivayati,
Logo Maya Sudharmati,
Lobho Maya Shudarmati,
Take Jeta Katin Sansare,
Take Jeta Katin Sansare,
Krishna Baro Doyo Mai,
Krishna Baro Doyo Mai,
Kori Bore Jiva Jai,
Kori Bori Jiva Jai,
Swaprasada Anna Dilo Bai,
Swaprasad Anna Dilo Bhai,
Se Annamrit Pao,
Se Anna Mrit Pao,
Shri Radha Krishna Gun Gao,
Shri Radha Krishna Gun Gao, Ko Shri Krishna Nitai, Jai Nimai, Jai Nitai,
Bhagavad Prasad ki
Jai.
And Surat Prabhu ji ki jai.
Jai.
Where's Kathy Mataji? Can somebody come?
And Khyati Mata ji ki jai.
For those of you who are online, thank you so much for joining our call. We have done our prasadam prayers and we'll be getting ready to honor the prasadam, which is part of Bhunte Bhojate Jaiva, right? So we'll be doing 2 there already. And I also wanted to especially thank Khyati Mataji for opening her home and her heart and allowing us to do Krishna Katha here. And we are sorely missing Meera Prabhu. And also thank you for doing all that single-handedly. She had so much of desire to do it, and she did because we have been having it every month almost, and she didn't want to miss this month of August. So she was saying, "Mataji, are you available? Can you do a Saturday?" I don't want to miss. Let us squeeze it in. So we squeeze it when you have desire. Krishna will
It's all
make
Krishna's
arrangements for that.
arrangement
Yeah.
and devotees' mercy. So
There you
thank
go.
you so much for giving us association.
Haribo.
Thank you
We'll
so
bring
much.
gifts
Let's
also
do-
next time.
let's do a big Haribo.
Haribo.
Haribo. So with this, we'll bring tonight's session to an end, and we will meet again in September. Hare Krishna.
Hare
September.
Pavadebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah.
September is tomorrow.
Hari Hari Bol. We can have. How about tomorrow morning?
We just want to go home.
Yes, all night kirtan.
Yeah, we should do some. You want to do a Bhagavad Gita recitation? Right?
Yes.
We should. You should.
Yeah.
We should expand that a little bit more.
Reading?
Reading, like entire Bhagavad Gita.